Welcome students. Today's topic is population ecology, which is a part of your UG Honours Semester 1 syllabus. So before delving into the topic, we need to know something different. We need to know the levels of organization. So what is the level of organization? So as you can see, there is a hierarchy from microscopic to macroscopic level. If you study biology, you need to know this hierarchy, which is known as levels of organization. So let's start with the microscopic level. First, DNA. As you all know, DNA is situated within the nucleus, and nucleus is present within the cell, and a collection of cell is called tissue. Few tissues constitute organ, and different organ make system or organ system, and these different kinds of system constitute organism, or it is also known as individual. Few individuals make population, which is the topic of discussion for today. And for your information, different populations make community. With this biotic component, if abiotic component adds, then it is called ecosystem. And few ecosystems constitute landscape, which is a part of landscape ecology, and different kinds of landscape ultimately gives rise to biome. You all know there are 10 biomes in the world, and these biomes constitute the biosphere, that is our Mother Earth. So today we will study this portion, that is population ecology. So first of all, we need to know what is population. The definition of population is a group of individuals, all of the same species, that live in the same place. According to Gotelli, the book Primer of Ecology, it is written that although it is sometimes difficult to define the physical boundaries of a population, the individuals within a population have the potential to reproduce with one another during the course of their lifetime. And there is another term called demography. Demography is the statistical study of human population. So population is nothing but the collection of different individuals. Collection of individuals in certain space and time is called a population. Now, very important, the characteristics of a population. There are few important characteristics that are unique to a population. First, population size and population density. Number 2, population dispersion or distribution. Number 3, age structure of a population. Number 4, survivorship curve of a population. And number 5, population dynamics. We will discuss each and every characteristic in detail. So let's start with the population size and density. Population size is nothing but the total number of individuals present in a population. It is generally denoted by the letter capital N. And what is population density? Population density is the total number of individuals of a population per unit area. So, if the total number of individuals is N and the total area where the population is present is capital A, then if we divide that total number of individuals by the total area, that is n by a, we will get the population density. Students, you should remember, population size and population density is not always same. If population size increases, the population density will also increase. It is not like that. So this is a beautiful example of the relation between population size and population density. If you see, just search in the Google that population size of different countries, you will get a page in Wikipedia where you will get a list, and this is the population size list. In the whole world, you all know the population size of China is highest, and that is why it is ranked 1, followed by India, which is number 2, and so on and so forth. If you see, you will see Bangladesh is present at number 8. So with respect to the population size, India is placed at number 2, whereas Bangladesh is present at number 8. But if you see the population density list, you will get a totally different picture, where Bangladesh is present at number 11 in the whole world with respect to population density, whereas India is ranked 33 in population density chart. So it is obvious that with respect to population size, India is ahead of Bangladesh, whereas with respect to population density, Bangladesh is ahead of India. So this is. Next, another example, that is Bangladesh and Russia. So Russia is a huge area, and Bangladesh, this one, small one compared to Russia. But in Bangladesh, in this small area, there are 156 million people, whereas in this huge area, there are only 143 million people. And if now you divide the whole populations with the size of the country, you will get, obviously, in case of Russia, the value will be, population density will be very less, whereas in case of Bangladesh, it is very, very high. And that is why in population density chart, you will get Bangladesh at 11, whereas Russia, almost the last one, 2 to 3 in the population density list. So this is the relation, I would say no relation between population size and density. Next characteristic of a population, that is population dispersion. Population dispersion is the, it can be defined as the spatial distribution of individuals in certain area. It is of 3 types: clumped, uniform, and random. So let's start with the clumped. Clumped distribution is most commonly found distribution among the 3. Why? You should remember that the distribution of population actually depends on the availability of resource. So if there is more resource, the more individuals will be there, and if there is less resource, then less individuals will be there. So that is why in nature, resource is distributed unevenly, right? And that is why, depending on that uneven distribution of resource, the distribution of individuals is also uneven, and it is clumped like. So you will say clump of individuals here, few clumps here, like that. So this is called clump distribution. Next, uniform distribution. In case of uniform distribution, the individuals are equispaced from each other. As you can see, their inter-individual distance is almost same. In nature, there are very few examples of uniform distributions, but artificially, there are few examples. I can give it to you. That is, you have seen that farmers in paddy fields, they plant each plants equidistant from each other. You must have seen. So that is uniform distribution. And in certain species of plants, this uniform distribution can be seen, where few plants, they secrete toxic chemical from their roots, so that other plants can grow in, say, 10-meter radius of that particular plant. So if there is a plant in 10-meter radius, there is no other plant. Beyond that 10-meter diameter, there will be another plant, and that plant is also showing the same characteristic, and that is why you will get a kind of uniform distribution in such kind of population. And the last one is the random. Random cannot be seen in nature, random distribution. Why? Because it is only possible when there is plenty of resource everywhere, which is not possible in case of natural case. And that is why random distribution is theoretical. Random distribution means each individuals can be found anywhere. Okay, the probability of finding a particular individual is everywhere, anywhere. So random distribution is a theoretical one. Next characteristic. Population dispersion can be calculated by variance and divided by mean. So in case 1, if variance is greater than mean, then dispersion will be greater than 1 and the distribution will be clumped. If variance is less than mean, then dispersion will be less than 1 and the distribution will be regular or uniform. And if the variance is equals to mean, which is the probability of occurring is very less, then the dispersion will be equals to 1 and the dispersion will be random. So that is why random distribution is the rarest. Next characteristic is the age structure. So what is age structure? If we plot a graph where there is a x-axis and there is a y-axis. Let's consider this graph. So in x-axis, it is divided into two parts, this one and this one, and there is a middle y-axis. The y-axis represents the age of the individuals and the x-axis represents the number or percentage of males and females in the population. So as you can see, one side is female and another side is male. So now if we plot different age groups or cohorts in this graph starting from 0 year to the, say, for human population it is 80 to 100 years, say. And you will get a graph where the graph will be looking like this, a pyramid shaped. Why so? Because as age progresses, the probability of individuals to stay alive decreases. So mortality increases with the age. This is the reason each and every graph almost shows the pyramidal or triangular shaped. So this is, say, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, so on. So for the first graph, as you can see, it is divided into 3 levels: red, yellow and blue. For human population, there are three different age groups: pre-reproductive, reproductive and post-reproductive. For human population 0 to 14 years, this range is called pre-reproductive. 15 to 44, this yellow part is reproductive, and beyond that, that is beyond 45 age, in this blue part, it is post-reproductive. So there are almost three types of age structures that can be found all over the world in different countries. If the base is very much widened, then the population, that particular age pyramid looks like a triangle, and the population growth rate in this population is very high. If the steepness is high, then the reproductive rate is high. In this case, it is called bell-shaped or stable age structure. Here, the population is almost stable, and if increasing, the rate is very slow. And the last one, it is urn-shaped, U-R-N, urn-shaped. Urn-shaped means the population is declining, or it is looks like an inverted pyramid. So these three kind of age structures can be found, that is expanding, stable and declining. Let's move on to the next characteristic. Survivorship curve. Survivorship curve can be obtained by plotting the graph age along x-axis and number of survivors along y-axis. So there are three types of survivorship curve can be found in nature: type 1, type 2 and type 3. What are the differences? Let's consider the type 3 first. Here, as you can see, as age increases, there is a sharp decline of number of survivors in early stage of life, and after that few individuals move to the end of their life. So in this case, there is a high death rate of many individuals in early stage of life. Whereas in opposite case, that is type 1, those individuals who are born, they almost goes to the end of their life. So the mortality rate at early stage is very, very low in case of type 1 survivorship curve. And there is a middle one, that is type 2, where the rate of mortality almost same in all the age groups, and that is why this is a smooth curve. Students, you should know type 1 curve is followed by K-selected species, and type 3 is followed by R-selected species. What is K-selected and R-selected? K-selected species means those of higher group of organisms like mammals, and in case of type 3, it is followed by R-selected species. R-selected species are lower group of animals, mostly invertebrates. Next move on to the next topic. Population dynamics. Population is not stable. It changes over time. Population dynamics depends on 4 parameters: birth, death, immigration and emigration. Consider there is a population of sparrow in the middle, that is size, population size of capital N, and individuals are added to this population by the process of birth, and the population decline when there are deaths. Population can also increase by immigration. Few individuals come from different population in this population, or from this population few individuals may go away to another population. That is called emigration. So the population size of this population is balanced by these 4 parameters: births, deaths, immigration and emigration. Births is considered as birth rates, which is called natality, whereas death rate is called mortality. So let's see how population is controlled by these 4 parameters in the next slide. So this is the population size. As I have already mentioned in the previous slide, that natality adds up to the population and mortality decreases the population, that is minus. Population can be increased, immigration also, and population can be decreased by emigration. So here, if B is greater than D, B is natality, D is mortality. So if B is greater than D, population increases in size, as simple as that. And if B is less than D, obviously death rate is high and the population will decrease. This is the simple relation of these 2 parameters, that is natality and mortality. For simplicity, we will consider only birth rate and death rate in case of population dynamics. Now, we have studied how population size is controlled by mainly 2 parameters, birth rate and death rate. So in our topic, we will discuss the population growth. What is population growth? If in any population birth rate is greater than death rate, the population will increase, the population will grow, and that is called population growth. Population growth can be of 2 types. One, exponential growth, another one, logistic growth. Population growth is represented by a curve where x-axis is denoted by time and y-axis the population size, that is capital N. So in case of exponential growth, the population is continuously growing. When it is possible? It is possible only when the resource is plenty. If there is plenty of resource, then the population will grow continuously, exponentially. So it is called exponential growth. This graph is also called J-shaped curve because it looks like J of English letter. It is also called geometric growth curve. So there are 3 names of this curve. Let's next move on to the next curve, that is logistic growth. In case of logistic growth, the resource is limited and hence the population will grow initially and then after certain time it will stabilize. Where the population will stabilize, that is at y-axis, is called the carrying capacity. I am explaining the term carrying capacity later on. In logistic growth, the curve is also called S-shaped curve because it looks like English letter S, and it is also called sigmoid growth curve. Then what is carrying capacity? Carrying capacity, you should remember, carrying capacity is the characteristic of the place or habitat where a population stays. It is not the characteristic of a population. So what is carrying capacity? Carrying capacity is the maximum number of individuals that can be supported by the resources available in a particular area. That is called carrying capacity. In some place, if there is resources high, the carrying capacity will be high, and if there is resources low, the carrying capacity will be low. And these 2 graphs are represented by 2 equations. Exponential growth equation is denoted as dn by dt equals to R into N. Here R means biotic potential or intrinsic rate of growth of the population, and N is the population size. Whereas in case of logistic growth equation, the equation is slightly different. dN by dt equals to R into N. This part is similar to that one. And there is another part within the brackets, 1 by N by K or K minus N by K. Here K is the carrying capacity. So in this whole lecture you have learned what is population. There are 5 characteristics of a population: population size, population growth, and age structure, survivorship curve, and population dispersion. These all we have discussed in this part called population ecology. Thank you.